Hi, welcome to Press Play Action here on Jersey Nerds Productions. Mitchell Lee, Brandon 2, Tommy Grant, and guys, we are in just a universe full of just recycled bullshit. And speaking of recycled bullshit, we've got Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon live action remakes coming out this summer. The Lilo and Stitch live action remake is actually out in theaters now. I went to go see the newest Mission Impossible movie on Thursday night. You know, school's still in session, and there were adults with like Stitch t-shirts at the theater. There were families with kids that were like, you know what? It's Thursday at 7 p.m. Who cares? We're going to the movies to see this. So this is going to be a big hit. And I'm hearing that the live action remake isn't very good for Lilo and Stitch. How to Train Your Dragon's live action remake. We'll see. There's reasons to be optimistic about that one. But there's a reason why people are excited for those movies, and it's because they loved the originals so much. So we're going to talk about those and spread some positivity, because a lot of people are going to be negative about the live action remakes whenever those come around. So let's talk about the stuff that everyone loves, starting off with Lilo and Stitch. This was a 2002 Walt Disney Animation Studios release, June 21st, 2002. And this was one of the closest box office finishes in the history of the United States box office. Brandon, Tommy, can you tell me who Lilo and Stitch barely lost the number one spot to? Lilo and Stitch made $35.26 million. And the movie that came in first made 35.6. So it's very close.
Now, is this for the full year or for the month?
Yeah, what year? Sorry, just want to make sure.
This was in 2002. Both of these movies came out on June 21st.
Wow. Well, it's not an amazing movie that I saw the other night.
Was it Harry
28? Yeah, I want to say Harry Potter.
It was not Harry Potter.
I was going to say it's not 28.
Harry Potter would have made much.
Tommy,
Harry Potter made much more.
It's not 28 Days Later, but I saw that in theaters like 2 days ago. Phenomenal
Epic, right?
movie. Phenomenal movie.
I need
not
to get
that.
around to that
Yeah,
one.
it's not that. Yeah, Men in Black.
No, think about something that would make around the same as Lilo and Stitch on an opening weekend.
Lord of the Rings.
No,
Okay.
something that'll make around the same, not more. All the ones you've guessed. No, that one did slightly less.
Around.
Great movie though. I'll give you. Here's your hint. We will be reviewing it later this year.
Later this year.
That's a lot of fucking help.
Yeah, that could be
Think
literally
to-
anything. You know?
It actually can't. Think to what I've told you we're about to get into and stay in for a long time.
I know we're getting to the Spielberg world.
Yeah, Spielberg.
I'm trying to think of what 2000.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what 2002 movie is Spielberg.
Minority Report.
Oh yeah,
It's a fantastic movie.
that's a
I've
good
actually
movie.
never seen that one.
I was
You
gonna
will
make
enjoy
the
it.
joke. I was gonna make the joke. It's not The Pianist because that movie made no money. But The
Correct.
Rookie,
It's
The Rookie. But no, it's just
it's a fantastic movie. But no, Lilo and Stitch, summer release in 2002. I know that all of us were probably the perfect age to get something like Lilo and Stitch out. I just turned 8 when this movie came out. So
we all had just turned 8.
What a broad spectrum of movie going that you could go see Minority Report or Lilo and Stitch at the same time.
I mean,
on the same release.
that's one hell of a double feature.
Yeah, that's.
I remember the advertising for Lilo and Stitch was really cool back then. They had all like the Disney commercials and the Disney movies taken over by Stitch.
He like makes the chandelier fall in Beauty and the Beast and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a really clever way to go about it, because Disney was kind of stuck in between the Disney Renaissance and then whatever was going to come next, because they clearly weren't in the Disney Renaissance anymore.
Yeah.
They, Pixar had kind of taken the shine away from from Walt Disney Animation Studios at the time. And I think Lilo and Stitch was the first movie of the 2000s because they had Dinosaur and Atlantis the Lost Empire, which I don't remember anything about Dinosaur, but I do remember Atlantis the Lost Empire being like a fun movie.
I think that's a very underrated Disney movie.
I think that's a good word for it. Yeah, it's got a really cool plot to it. But Lilo and Stitch was the first one that people really fell in love with in 2000 in the 2000s, and I didn't know just how much people loved this movie until this month. Really,
was Dinosaur the one with the lemur in it?
Yes, he kept calling himself the Love Monkey. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I knew the dinosaurs were in it. Oh my god.
The only Disney animated movie with
Land
dinosaurs.
Before Time. No,
I know. Land Before Time is way better. If you want to watch animated dinosaurs.
Yeah, that is true.
But
unless you're talking about like Land Before Time, like 9. But
yeah, that's true. They made like a shit ton of those movies. But I will say, it feels like Lilo and Stitch is like the start of a new era, and that's a good way of putting it. Like I just think it's different from a lot of the other like 90s and 80s like Disney animated movies. It just feels like a different idea. And
it wasn't a musical.
You know what I mean?
It didn't fall into that like princess type thing, and it
or even Bambi. It wasn't like, oh, this is a great story, you know, whatever.
Bambi wasn't in the 80s or 90s. That was in 1942.
I know it was, but I'm just saying, like,
for me, this is comparable to like a Tarzan because a lot of the 90s Disney movies,
yeah, that's true.
You had that musical hit where your main character did some sort of. You have Hercules, Mulan, Aladdin. They all do that musical tune to them, but the only
statement.
The main outlier being Tarzan. Whereas Tarzan had a really epic soundtrack. And I think Lilo and Stitch hit that mark with the Hawaiian music mixed with the Elvis music was kind of a really fun.
Yeah, true.
Into that movie that really made it kind of stand out.
I mean, if you guys want to start like from the beginning, the opening, I mean, obviously you get like off the spaceship. And I do think the way they intro the island of Hawaii is like absolutely
Well, why
phenomenal.
are you glossing over the spaceship? Well, first of all, I got to retract my statement.
We're talking about the music.
I'm talking about the music.
The Emperor's New Groove came out in 2000.
Okay,
Let me not just gloss over that. That was a really fun movie as
that
well.
Is, but in the same light, Emperor's New Groove is like a phenomenal,
really
like,
goofy,
original, creative idea. You know?
Yeah, like Lilo and Stitch.
Right. So. No, I wasn't glossing over the spaceship. I was more getting to Tommy's point that you are introduced to the island of Hawaii, and the soundtrack and that opening song is an absolute
Hawaiian roller coaster ride.
Banger.
Every time.
No, it does.
The movie doesn't even have to be on. Like if I hear if my daughter's like listening to like her little like music boxes and she has a Stitch one, the second I hear that, my brain just instantly goes to that scene.
That song in the first scene you get on the island is a banger, and then Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is the other like absolute. Like if that song comes on, you're stopping what you're doing and singing the song. Like it's just that good. So yeah, that's kind of my point. But yeah, we can go back to the spaceship, Mitchell, because I do think the way they start the movie is very clever, very cool, and I just think I think it's awesome, like the way they set up the story, because you have to think that like Stitch is like this awful creature, like destruction is coming or whatever. But in the end, like that's not what Stitch is. But like you're led to believe that with everything like you see on screen.
See, I just liked the scientist.
Yeah, he is funny. He
was my favorite character early in this movie because he kind of is chaotic in the way that a lot of the other characters in this movie are. I know they kind of set up Stitch to be that, but when you just see him eating the newspaper when it says like idiot scientist jailed, and he's like eating the newspaper because he's so frustrated with it. I don't know why. That just gave me a good laugh.
I prefer evil genius.
I saw a lot of ties to the Frankenstein storyline with the whole intro where, like in the Frankenstein book, he creates the monster escapes, and he goes on this quest trying to find the monster, and it's kind of the same aspect in that sense. And I just love the scene where he's like, where did my little monstrosity end up? And that's when they zoom in and do the
Yeah.
intro. Like that whole sequence was a lot of fun.
Planet ER. Oh my god, this is
It's a great way to
not
start
to
the
mention,
movie when they see nothing but water, and then it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
a little speck of land, but also the whole little dialogue with how they're using Earth to repopulate the mosquito population. I was like, those bastards.
So, well,
That's got
we'll
a
save
great.
it. We'll
Yeah, I
save
was
it for
gonna
the
say
end.
that's got a
Mr.
great
Bubbles
wrap up with
has
that.
like the greatest line ever at the end of the movie. But yeah, we'll save that. But yeah, I just think man, I mean, out of all the places to land, that ship lands on the tiny 8 islands of Hawaii or whatever. He just lands on the mainland of Maui. Like, it's just so funny that he lands on the mainland to me. But yeah, it's a cool creative idea, and it's just I think it even says like based on the idea by Chris Sanders or something like that. And I'm like, Chris Sanders is a G, and I hope this guy's making a shit ton of money because he made this idea. You know, I hope he's getting a crap ton of royalties from this because
Well, I think
it's a great idea.
I think he's doing all right because he also directed How to Train Your Dragon.
God, what a beast! Let's go.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
that would have been our connection. What are we doing?
He did How to Train Your Dragon, and Brandon, you know what else he also did?
I don't have his letterbox. I don't have his page at IMDb up, so I don't know.
The Wild Robot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Chris Sanders is doing well for himself.
Yeah, he's doing, and I think he's not the one doing that. The other director of this movie is the one that's doing the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay.
Because they both also did How to Train Your Dragon. So weirdly enough, this is a Chris Sanders Dean the Blah. That kind of sounds like I'm making fun of him. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but we're doing a little bit of a double feature with them.
True.
The heart of this movie, as much as it is Lilo and Stitch, I think that the heart of this movie is between Lilo and Nani.
Yeah.
Because
it's about family. This is really Fast and the Furious, Mitchell.
It really is Fast and Furious, and Stitch is just Vin Diesel in Blueface. So, but it's about Nani, who's a teenager who has to suddenly be a mom because parents died off screen, something happened, and now it's
the typical Disney tragedy.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. The mom always dies.
Has to die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe Lilo's mom got shot by Bambi. Who knows?
No. They say there was like a car wreck.
As soon as I think that was the case.
They do mention it, but yeah.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier got to them.
Yeah, man.
I guess so. But Lilo is kind of the child from hell. Like, she does not make things easy on Nani at all. I'm thinking about the scene where she's like put a bunch of nails in the door and Nani can't get in. Yeah. Like, I kind of wanted her to like
Lilo is
get hit in the face by a school bus at that moment in time.
But at the same time, child abandonment.
I mean,
Yeah,
sure, a child abandonment, but she is a menace. Like, she is a problem. So I don't really blame Nani, but it's funny that Mr. Bubble shows up exactly when he shows up because it's like the worst possible moment he could possibly have showed up.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even worse because he shows up slightly before and she kicks his car and calls him a stupid Ed and makes a dent in his car.
I can pay for that. It's a rental.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ving Rhames as Cobra Bubbles in this movie.
Taking a quick hot break from Mission Impossible 2 to swap over to the animation.
Oh my god,
Ving Rhames all over the place. It's like next we're gonna be reviewing Arby's commercials. I'm a bit confused by this character. It's fun. It's a funny bit, but does he just stalk this family all day? Like, I know he's a social worker, that's his job, but like he is everywhere that they go all the time.
So remember when she's like, "You don't look like a social worker," and he's like, "I'm in a special category." I think he's the social worker you call when there's like real issues. Like his background is like CIA, so he's paid to like stalk them.
Which makes you wonder, what
Is
did
what-
Lilo's parents actually do for a living? That
Yeah,
true.
CIA.
did the Winter Soldier actually get them? Like,
That's
we
what I'm
think
saying.
Nani knows too much.
Was
like,
it a conspiracy? Their car crash. It was like actually a government yeah.
Just saying.
No, I mean that's a fair point. I just
Maybe we find out in the live action remake.
his character is just
No, we find
so
that out in
funny.
Leroy and Stitch.
Yeah, true, Leroy. His character is just so funny, if we're being honest. Like it is like one of the funniest characters. And I don't think they're trying to be funny. I think well, they might be, but it just comes across as like this is just not believable that this guy just like went from being a CIA agent or whatever he was doing to being a social worker who just is just around. You kind of mention their relationship, but I guess we should start there. Like it's a broken family, and like they bring that up a lot. But it's a very aggressive like relationship they have, and like when you first see them, they're just like yelling at each other the whole time, and it's like, wow, this is like not good at all. But you're like, I kind of like, it's not that it's like relatable. It's just like, oh, I see like why they're upset. Like this wasn't supposed to happen to them, like Mitchell was saying, and like they're just kind of put in this situation where they have to deal with what happened.
They're both dealing with that trauma in the sense where they both want to be heard and have attention, but can't get it from the other. Because you get that really neat scene where you see them both go to their own room and just scream into the pillow at the same time. So it's like they're both going through the same frustration.
Good coping mechanism, by the way.
Just can't get through to the other one because they both want their own attention.
Right.
Exactly. Neither one of them can really be exactly what the other one needs or get what they need from the other person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Stitch comes in. And it's like, all right, well, Lilo and Stitch convene at the perfect time, or maybe the worst time for Nani, because Stitch just kind of keeps losing her jobs. and the social worker's just following them around like, I see you lost your job today. Arby's, we have the meats.
I will say, I don't fully blame Stitch for like all of it, but I do think it's funny that like she's trying to teach him how to be like an upstanding citizen, because that's what like Mr. Bowl says to him. He's like, job model citizen, and her idea of model citizen is Elvis. So she's just trying to teach him a bunch of Elvis stuff, and she's like, all right, this is the big finale. We're gonna put it all together.
You're gonna die in the toilet.
Yeah,
that whole montage was just my favorite scenes out of this movie.
Like, how does
especially
he start
with the
playing?
record, just putting his hand on the record, just opening his mouth, like
suspicious vibes. I just can't do it. It was so.
I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. But okay, so like the guitar, like he just picks up the guitar and then it becomes like this electric guitar that's just like better. Like he's just a better guitar player
through
than
the
like
power
everyone.
of Elvis. Anything is possible.
Yeah, through the power of Elvis.
That's the real underlying moral of this story.
It had to be an electric guitar because they had a stereo, and he was like, and she was like, all right, light it up, Stitch. And she just plugs it in and starts going, and it's like, this is incredible. Like this dog is performing Elvis, and then everyone crowds him, and then obviously he freaks out because people are flashing cameras at him.
I like that one guy that just starts running up to him with his like water gun.
He's like, "Hey, stop that!" And it's like, okay,
and he just picks him up by the anus and just throws him across the beach. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. I'm not gonna lie.
And then I think he ate the water gun. Like he just picked it up and bit it. And I was like,
yeah.
I relate with this character so much. He basically just wants people to leave him alone, and they won't leave him alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, but then
I came to the beach to relax.
His coping mechanism is biting his feet and rolling in a ball. I also found that like to be interesting. That his like coping mechanism.
It's very toddler.
Like, I thought you were gonna say I find that very relatable, as I do that in my living room all the time.
No, I don't. I don't do that at all.
Like a little baby armadillo.
It's like,
I
yeah,
didn't
he
need that
rolls up in a
visual
ball.
today, but now I appreciate having that visual.
He rolls up in a ball and just starts wrecking stuff. Oh man. I mean, yeah. I mean, everything about Stitch is like the animation of him and like the way he's created, and then just the way he moves and like the stuff he does. Like he's built for destruction, but like
Retracting his little extra arms.
right, like everything about him is like it to me is like cool, but it's like you can also kind of tell that like he doesn't mean to like destroy some, like sometimes he doesn't mean to do it, and it's just like it just happens because like that's who he is, and it's just like yeah, it's just very interesting how you like see him.
I wonder if this was kind of I don't want to say a shit project, but just kind of a project that Disney was like, all right, we've got our big tentpole animated release coming up later this year in Treasure Planet. We're going to put all of our money into Treasure Planet. And
We're going to make that
this,
look amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have this other movie, Lilo and Stitch, and it's going to be a lower budget thing. And because of that, you know, animators, writers, just throw shit at the wall.
Yeah.
Feel
I mean,
free to just kind of do whatever. And you know, Lilo and Stitch ended up being much bigger and more successful than Treasure Planet was, and maybe they gave more creative freedom to the people involved with Lilo and Stitch, because they do just kind of throw a lot at the wall, and you know, it's not based on anything other than just an idea that Chris Sanders had. And they do a lot of really cool stuff with the animation here, and again with some of the humor, they just throw things out there and it works.
Some of the animation is like awesome and it's creative, and it's like just throwing stuff at the wall, like you're saying, like it's just very random. And then others of it, you can just like tell that they were just like, all right, we need like 5 other people who look kind of the same. Let's just like reuse the face like over and over again. And it's like, okay, I mean, like, can we have tried a little bit harder just to like
they had the original My Cabbages guy.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was the guy that kept dropping his ice cream.
Yes. From Avatar, from the Last Airbender.
That's got to be the inspiration for the. Now I'm sure there's another animated movie that did something like that, but whenever I hear the My Cabbages guy, I just see that one guy dropping his ice cream all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I will say his character is interesting because you can tell like Lilo's fascinated with like tourists or like people who don't look like her.
Yeah.
And so she'll like stop and take pictures of like him or like whoever it is. And she's like, aren't they beautiful? It's because you can tell like in her mind, she's like, I like them because they're different, because I'm different. And so it's like a cool way to like go into her mind without her like saying it.
She has a whole like wall in her room of just nothing but like tourist ass.
Can we say when her like opening dialogue in this movie might be some of the most iconic thing ever. Today was sandwich day, and she was like,
we had tuna.
I had to give Punch the fish peanut butter, but my sister said to give him tuna. Do you know what tuna is made of? Oh my god! One of the best lines.
Autistic.
One of the best lines had to be, "I'd be an abomination."
See, and that reminded me of The Social Network.
Yeah, it's good.
That's just the key to Disney's successful animated movies. You have a fun, weird creature that the kids love. You have adult humor thrown in that kids don't pick up on until you're older and you rewatch and you're like, oh, I see what you did.
Yeah. She's talking about like tuna fish, like giving up fish tuna. Yeah.
And then you have some sort of really emotional, heartfelt story throughout it that make you actually care about the story.
Right.
But all the background shit doesn't really matter. And you have to have an either hit song that the character sings or an epic soundtrack. That's the key success to a Disney animated film. And that's what movies like Treasure Planet didn't have, that I think really made them fall short. Like, same thing with Atlantis. It didn't have any of those factors in it.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, but it wasn't a like big Disney.
I think the soundtrack sets movies apart. Like it really does.
It can help in that department because, like, I don't think Emperor's New Groove had anything really going in that regard. But at the same time,
I think 2 of the 3 were like absolutely phenomenal. Like
you got Elvis and you've also got the backdrop of the Hawaiian Islands.
Mhm.
And I think that both of those kind of give this movie a little bit more of an identity than
Mm.
other movies where it's just kind of a score that doesn't add too much.
And this was
Yeah.
also definitely Disney experimenting with like, hey, let's try and do stuff in space because they haven't really done that before with animation. And obviously,
Yeah, I
they
was gonna say Brave Little Toaster's the first time they went into space, and
yeah,
I
that's
was
true. But I mean, they did
because he
a
does
double
go into
whammy
space.
this year with between Stitch and Treasure Planet.
Yeah, true,
It,
true.
it didn't really do much after that. So I mean, I think there's kind of a one and done with space.
Disney would go back into space in 2011 with Mars Needs Moms, which
Yeah,
I haven't seen but will watch soon enough for my 2011 ranked, and I have heard nothing but awful things.
awful things about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if you're gonna be in space like that, if you're gonna do things like that, like we're not even talking about the spaceship, but to be honest, the opening part of this movie on the spaceship and the way Stitch gets out of like being captured and being imprisoned is genius. And like I
And we,
think
we
it
don't really
looks
even see
cool.
much of space either. The only
We
thing we
don't.
really see is this massive space prison.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the reason. Like, we're not supposed to. Like, we're supposed to see Hawaii. We're supposed like this is about Stitch and him finding a family. But you basically take a broken experiment and you put him on a broken family. And I don't want to jump all the way to the ending, but I mean, I got a little bit emotional when Stitch is like talking at the end, and he's like, "This is my family, and I found them," and it's just like,
No, the
how did
saddest
Disney do this to me? I've only been watching this movie for an hour. Like, what
the
happened?
saddest scene in this movie is when Stitch is trying to reenact the ugly duckling story out in the rain
Right.
with the book. That was devastating.
Yeah, it's devastating, and it's just like that's another point that we haven't even brought up. This movie is an hour and 25 minutes, or an hour and
Perfect,
17.
perfect length.
This movie is
It
incredibly
flies.
short, and it flies, but it's like worth it. It's like they should make more movies like this. If you're not going to be this tight, then you got to like give some more depth to the story. In this case, they don't need more depth. I think they tell everything incredibly well, and it's a super tight story. And I know they go on to do other projects with Lilo and Stitch, but I think like this is like a one-off like introduction to Lilo and Stitch, and just like this idea is absolutely awesome. And I think that's like part of it is like it's just incredibly tight and incredibly well done. And yeah, I've got no notes in terms of like the length of this movie or like what they do with it. I think it's like perfection how they handle that.
I wouldn't quite go that far just because
I mean, what else do
I
you want to see? You want to see him be Elvis for like another 10 minutes? I mean,
Yep.
that would be sick. But
no, I mean I like the runtime. I really like this movie. I don't love this movie the way a lot
ooh,
of other people
interesting.
seem to.
Okay.
And I don't really even have a reason for it. I just don't get like I just watch it the whole time. I'm like, wow, that's a really good movie. I really enjoyed that. I don't like it's not like something like Toy Story where I'm like,
There's
oh
nothing
my
that
god,
set
like
it above and beyond everything else.
no,
You're,
I
you're
just
not
really
like
like it.
crying at it like Tommy and I are. You're not like, oh, that
No.
ugly duckling story is like sad. Because
No,
that's
I
what
just
happened to me. I was like, oh my God, like,
well damn it,
that's
Brandon, you just made editing more difficult.
what? I'm still here. What do you mean?
You cut out
You
for a
cut off for
whole
about a
second.
minute
Like he
or for
disappeared.
about 5 seconds.
A minute. All
All
right.
right,
Well,
I'll
fucking.
go ahead and edit.
3, 2, 1. Just yeah, I'm not in love with this movie the way a lot of other people are, and it's not anything that the movie does incorrectly. I just don't connect to it, I guess, the same way a lot of other people have. And it's not
I
because
mean,
it's
yeah.
like, oh, it's because it's a woman. I love Moana. Like Moana is something that I like. Capital LOVE. Like that is my
To
shit
be
right there. And I think maybe it's because of the music in that movie. being just a little bit more personal. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fair because it's how you like emotionally connect or feel to the movie. But like what Tommy was getting at with like the ugly duckling story, like to me that was like ultra sad, and it was like what are we looking at? Like I can't believe they just told this storyline within like literally a minute and a half, and like made me sit here and like almost cry. Same with the ending when he was like, "Can I say bye?" And the captain was like, "Yeah, like you can." He's like, "Thank you." It's just like he's matured so much, and then what he says about family and like how he found his family. I'm like, I was about to cry, but I have that same reaction to Moana too. Like I'm not, and when I say Moana too, I also like had a little bit of like a cry in Moana 2 as well when like she tries to help her sister like walk. I was like, oh, this is like the callback to Moana. Like when you see that scene in Moana, you're like,
You did
like
not cry in Moana 2.
I did at that one. It was that one scene. It was when the sister was doing the same walk, like to the shell. That was
I'm
the
not
only
even gonna
time.
lie to you. I
That was
fell
the only
asleep
time.
in Moana 2
I mean,
in
it's not a
theaters.
great movie. It's
Look,
not. It's
I
not a
think what would
great
have
like
set
idea.
Lilo and Stitch above and beyond is if they had an Elvis cameo at the end of the movie, where
Of
it turned out
Elvis.
that the aliens took him way back when, and the
Oh, that
CIA
would have
has
been
been
sick.
hunting the aliens down to find Elvis.
That would have actually been a genius idea.
Well,
Well, you
They
they
should
have
have
do.
so
brought
much.
you on
They have
board.
so much Elvis sprinkled throughout this movie. So I was like, oh, I wonder if they'll do something with Elvis with the
They
alien.
should have brought you on board for the end credit scene where
You
Elvis
do
is.
get a good reveal there at the end where Bubbles
Yeah.
is
Do you
just
want to
like,
talk about it? Do you want to talk about that? Yeah.
yeah, I've been with
Yeah.
the CIA the whole time, and I just saved the Earth by feeding them some bullshit about how mosquitoes are endangered
Endangered species.
species or something like that.
And to think that his character told that, and then there's other characters in the movie who just like that's their entire identity is they're like we have to save the
We have
mosquitoes
to
on planet
protect the
Earth.
mosquitoes. We can't just go in guns blazing. Think about
It's,
the mosquitoes.
it's the mosquitoes' lifeline. It's a food source for the mosquitoes. Oh man, it's just too good. Yeah, I maybe I'm
Great
different
it,
from Mitchell, Tommy. I'm different from Mitchell. I love this movie. I think this movie is awesome. Like I
great
could
it.
watch this movie every day of my life. It's gonna be incredibly high.
Oh
A
hi.
plus, 55.5.
Damn!
Wow.
What the fuck?
I didn't even go that high, but wow, okay.
What the
I
fuck?
could watch this
I
movie on repeat. Like this movie is sick.
I went with an A60. It's a solid movie for me.
The the craziest thing, Mitchell, is it might not be the highest grade I give tonight.
I'm at an A minus 63.01. I really like the movie. I just don't love it. But
A minus, going 4 stars
4
on Lilo and
stars.
Stitch. That is tough.
Now,
All right,
the movie
let's
we really want
move.
to talk about tonight. How to
Yeah,
Train
Hey, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go that far. I know a lot of people really
I'm
love
not.
Lilo and Stitch. I'm not poo pooing how
No,
Lilo
no.
and Stitch.
I
No, but this is
love
far
Lilo
superior.
and Stitch. I love Lilo and Stitch. I'm just gonna flat out say it. That's not gonna be the highest grade I give tonight. Just flat out.
No. All right, so How to Train Your Dragon time now, and spoiler alert for next week. We will be reviewing How to Train Your Dragon 2 as well as How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World and wrapping up the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy before we do Steven Spielberg. So we're not just doing this one. We're not reviewing Lilo and Stitch 2 or Leroy and Stitch or Leroy Jenkins and Stitch or whatever the hell else they've done. We're not doing that. But we're not reviewing the How to Train Your Dragon TV show or the books. We're just doing the main, because these are based on books, which a lot of people do tend to forget that.
I feel like
But
90% of Hollywood is based off of books. So, so
basically,
It's a crazy thing called source material.
yeah.
March 26th, 2010, this movie was released. And I remember this movie came out and it opened lower than people expected. And they were like, oh, well, I guess this movie's not going to get a sequel. And then it just kept making money because everyone kept talking about how good it was. And people kept going to see it to the point where this movie actually, it was number one in the box office its first weekend, and then returned to number one again in weekend number 5, which just does not happen.
Yeah.
But because this movie, where most movies drop 50-60% every week, this movie was dropping like 20%. It was doing stuff that like Sinners is doing now, where it just kept making money and making money. And
Was this like
you know,
a repeat watch? Were people just like showing up to see this movie again and again?
I don't
I
know if it
will.
was an again and again thing, but I think it was like, hey, me and the Johnson family went out to go see How to Train Your Dragon, and it's really good. You should go see it. And then the other people would go and check it out. And I saw this 2 weeks after it came out. I wanted to see Clash of the Titans with my family over spring break, but they said, nope, that looks stupid. We're going to go see How to Train Your Dragon instead. And I just want to thank my family for being better decision makers than me at the ripe age of 15, because also this movie came out during the 3D craze. And apart from Avatar, this is the only other movie that I've seen in 3D that I went, yup, you should see it in 3D. And I know that Tom, you didn't see it in theaters, right?
No, I did not.
And I know
I
Brandon
did not
actually
watch this.
just
I
saw
did
this
not
for the
watch the
first time.
franchise until a couple of years ago.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I've seen each of these movies not just in theaters. I've seen each of them in 3D, and I hate 3D, but the first How to Train Your Dragon movie, particularly in 3D, the flying sequences, and
Yeah.
maybe that's just something it had in common with Avatar, where it's like the flying sequences really added something in 3D. The flying sequences in this movie are spectacular.
Yes.
If you listen to our 2010 podcast and you got to about like the hour 40-minute mark or something like that,
If you made it that far in,
yeah, if you got into my top, this was my number 5 movie of 2010. I love this movie, so it's
It
not
was incredible that you went from 126 to.
yeah, exactly. But How to Train Your Dragon got talked about very late because it was very good, and I know that Brandon, there are a lot of movies in that top 10 that Tommy hadn't seen, and Tommy has since rectified that situation. And, I'm glad we got you educated on things like Black Swan, The Social Network, The Town, movies that you should have seen by now, but glad you got around to them. And
well,
Brandon,
that's the thing.
go ahead.
There's so many fucking movies. It's impossible to watch them all. And honestly, this is one of the times I will thank social media for doing something good. And it's just people posting random clips of movies because they're so epic. And this is one of those movies where I just kept seeing all over social media, just the same scene. Is that one song that kept playing, and I was like, "This actually looks really
The da da da. Yeah.
yeah." The main score of the film that kind of like overplays a lot of the
The
clips.
one that
And I
they're
was like,
basically using to sell the live action movie now.
Yes.
And it's like,
it's
it
a
works,
banger
but
song.
it's a
It's a
good
banger
song.
song. Yeah.
And that made me go like, "Wow, this actually looks like a really good animated movie. I kind of want to watch it now." And I watched it and fell in love with it instantly.
The crazy thing is, I had seen the one scene where there was like the flying sequence, and so I knew I was gonna watch this movie at some point because I just remember the only like quote I really remember from this movie, just from like clips, is like, "Thanks, you useless reptile." I'm just like, I can't. Like, this is so funny to me.
by the way, this was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. Best Animated Feature Film, which it lost to Toy Story 3.
Fair.
Which, hey, if you're...
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a tough draw right there.
Yeah.
If it had been the next year, they would have ran away with the win. But
The
Toy Story
greatest
3,
prison break, the
I have
greatest
said
prison
this
break
multiple
movie
times.
of all time.
In my opinion, I think How to Train Your Dragon trilogy is the second best animated trilogy of all time, falling second to Toy Story.
Yeah, I mean,
it was also nominated for
Yeah.
Best Score, which is not something that animated movies do a whole hell of a lot. And it was the only animated movie to get nominated that year
but
for score.
I
And
think
it is
it's
a
propped-
great score.
I think it's propped up by that title song. Like, I do think it's propped up
absolutely.
by that. But to be fair, that song, like when you get to those scenes where he's flying with Toothless, and they're playing the music in the background, I got a little emotional. I was like, oh, like this is why
That
people watch
song
this movie.
perfectly encaptures like fantasy in a song.
Right.
I don't know
It's
what
like
it
this
is.
is
I don't
why
know how to
people
describe
watch
it,
this
but
movie.
it like gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it.
I'm gonna go ahead and get
It's
my
just hard to
negatives out of the
explain.
way
Yeah,
first.
go ahead.
All
Because
right,
I
get
don't
to it.
have
How
many.
many negatives?
I was gonna
Like
say
one?
I can't see how many negatives you could possibly have about this movie, but let's hear them.
Because I don't have many, but unfortunately, these negatives follow with me for the whole trilogy.
The other Vikings, like who? Like
The other not Hiccup and not Astrid, but like Rough Nut, Tough Nut, D's Nuts, whatever the hell the other kids are
Snot
named.
Lout.
Yeah,
Snot Lout.
yeah, fish legs,
Goober, fish
yeah,
legs.
yeah. No, all of them pointless for the
Spiteball.
most part. And I think
Yeah.
in this movie, they're probably the
fair.
least pointless.
I mean,
Once
we're
you
gonna
get
find
to
out next
3,
week.
it's like, okay, you really should be dead by now. But this movie, at least, it's like, hey, he's training with them, and at the end, there's a cool moment with all of them.
Right.
But
Yes.
I just don't find their characters to be
So-
like all that interesting or fun or anything like that.
At the end of this movie, I'm thinking to myself, how did they make two more?
more?
How did they make two more fucking movies out of this? Because it feels like a perfect
The World
wrap
of
up.
Dragons gets a lot bigger. That's all I'll say.
Okay, that's fair.
But
It
I
feels like
think
the perfect wrap up, but then it just
kinda-
it's like, oh, there's two more. There's like
kind of to your point, Mitchell. I do see your point with how they have a lot of kind of useless side characters,
they do.
and they're kind of there more just for
I think it's plot. I think it's like pushing the plot forward without like
not
having
even that.
to
It's more
use
just
a
having
character for it. I
other
guess.
characters for Hiccup to interact with, other than a dragon and his dad.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, obviously, and it's a generational thing. It's showing, hey, the old generation wanted to kill dragons. We're a new generation. We got to show them better.
We fly
And what
dragons
better way
now.
than having all of the kids literally say, "Fuck you, we're gonna be friends with the dragons instead." But after
Well,
the
let's go
first
ahead and
movie-
talk about the plot for this movie in case somehow you've been living under a rock or Brandon before
I still
this
knew what
week.
happened. I still knew like they flew dragons at the end of the movie. Yeah, I mean, like, what do you mean?
So this takes place in Burke, which is a Viking village, and it follows Hiccup, played by or voiced by Jay Baruchel, and he is the runt of the village basically, and everyone prides themselves on being Vikings and slaying dragons, and his dad is the big the chief of the village, Stoic
of course,
the Vast,
voiced by Gerard Butler.
voiced by
No
Gerard
better cast.
Butler. And Hiccup's just kind of the town fuck up. And that he hasn't
There's
killed
a lot
anybody.
of hiccups in his life. Yeah.
But he takes down, accidentally or whatever the case may be, he takes down a Night Fury, and the Night Fury is like the rare, like unkillable dragon. And
Unknown.
And no one believes that he took this thing down because no one can find it. But he goes, he finds it, and I love the way that this movie opens up because you see just how not like any of the other Vikings Hiccup is, but in a way that doesn't feel like they're just trying to do it for comedic value. They do kind of do that with the whole like, you just pointed to all of me. Like they do that, but at the same time it feels very natural, and how he does want to pull his weight in the village, and then eventually he meets he sees the Night Fury that he captured, and he's going to kill this thing, and he just can't bring himself to do it. And eventually he befriends and names this dragon Toothless. They strike up a connection, and he starts to learn more about these dragons and how maybe they aren't exactly what the Vikings think that they are. Meanwhile, him and all of his, I don't want to say friends, because they become friends later, but they're really not friends at first. Classmates, I guess. They're basically learning how to kill dragons. And hey, this is everything that you need to do if you want to be a productive member of this village and kill dragons just like your pappy did. You know, like
And continue the war on dragons. Yeah.
exactly. The whole like our parents' war is about to become ours, and there's frustration with are you
That
actually
is
going to be able to help us with this, or are you a liability?
that's a bar that goes hard, by the way. Like
It
that is a
is.
bar that goes hard. Now, you might be thinking to yourself if you haven't seen this movie. So the movie's called How to
Like me 2 days
Train.
ago.
Right, me 2 days ago. So the movie is How to Train Your Dragon. So let me guess. Hiccup doesn't want to kill them. He wants to train them and
Now you're
be
picking
friends
up.
with them. Yeah, I'm like, oh, now I get it. Um, I think the best Mitchell, the best part of
Great
this
reading
movie.
comprehension skills
Yeah,
there,
great
Brandon.
reading comprehension. I mean, honestly, A+ work. Um, I do have one question. So
I'm sure you'll have more.
when he brings down the Night Fury, was it originally not injured, and he injured it, and then it couldn't fly anymore, and so does he feel like he has to like help it fly again
I
because
think
he
it
like
was in.
injured it
I think it was injured because originally it couldn't really like
fly at all?
go very far.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I was a
Like
little
it
bit
could get
off
off
on
the
like
ground, but it
if
couldn't
its
really
back
like.
if its back tail was like messed up to begin with. But yeah,
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, and I mean, honestly, the whole montage or just like how they go about showing Hiccup like interacting with Toothless and being like, "Oh, I need to help Toothless fly because like if he can't fly, then he's not really a dragon." And he creates like the back wing for his tail and stuff like that. And it's like and then it works. And then it's like now we got to find a way to like activate this back wing. I'm gonna make another mechanical like adjustment to like do that. And to your point, Mitchell, that you were making earlier, he's not like other Vikings because he's like very engineering like thoughtfulness, and like he knows how to make stuff, and like it just feels like all the other Vikings are like, I know how to make swords, I know how to make shields, and I know how to kill people, I know how to kill dragons. And it's like that's not exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to be like an inventive and like creative person. And you can see that from like when you first meet him. But then it just like compounds on itself because he's like every time he's faced with a problem, you see him on screen trying to figure out and confront the issue that he's like, you know, brought to him with Toothless. And it just continues to build and build. And I think that's what's so successful about this movie is the relationship between those two, but how Hiccup confronts like each issue on screen. And you like see him like going through it, and like the wheels are turning and stuff like that in his head, like the gears are going. And it's just phenomenal. Like I think it's like really well done, whether it's a montage or just like different scenes. They show you everything on screen. And I think that's what makes it like really, really, I guess, powerful when you get to like certain points in the movie.
Let's talk about what really stood out about this movie to me. Okay, so the year's 2010.
Yeah,
DreamWorks has 3 movies in 2010, and I liked all of
three
them.
2010
So
movies.
they had this in March, and then in May they had Shrek Forever After,
Okay.
which was a good movie, but definitely a lighthearted comedic romp. And then in November they had Megamind, which was a
Mm,
movie that I liked. Again, more on the comedic side of things. And then they had this movie to start the year off, and yeah, it's definitely got its big names in there, and it's got its comedic elements. But this movie is just remarkably epic. This movie has so much tension and so much just like grand scene, like the flying scenes in this movie. I know I talked about it a little earlier, but the flying scenes in this, you know, the animation that's done on these big landscapes mixed with the score, mixed with just kind of the feeling of it's almost like that scene from Prisoner of Azkaban where Harry is flying on the I'm forgetting what
The hippogriff, man. The
the
hippogriff.
hippogriff. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to be wrong.
the
Um,
hippogriff.
and he's flying on the hippogriff. It's got that very similar type of feel to it, except they do so much more with it here, and you just can't help but watch this and be in awe of what they were able to do.
The animation was just perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know what else to say on it. I mean, it was crisp, it was clear, and just all the scenes with them flying around was just epic. And I can definitely see it being compared to Harry Potter with the Hippogriff scene. It was kind of him breaking free from his world where he just doesn't belong. It's like he kind of has like this new awakening, like, hey, this is what I can actually do with my life and be with dragons and do something different. And I think that was definitely a very fun message for them to throw out, and especially an animated movie for kids. Again, you don't get many animated movies that have a good, important message to send, and this definitely had that going for it.
Yeah, and we also got to remember, since it's a kids movie, we're not going to get like a 2 hour and 40 minute like epic. Like we're going to get very tight, less than 2 hour runtime.
Lean
What?
storytelling, though.
Yeah, lean storytelling. But what can we do in those lean moments in order to like push it forward and make it like, I guess, depth, I guess is a good way to put it, or just make it like memorable. And to your point, Tommy, the way they lean on the animation to do that, I think I mean, you could have given us 25 minutes of Hiccup just flying on the back of
Yeah,
Toothless, and it would have been like, okay, like this is cool, this is right. But like they sprinkle it in the first scene when he does it, you're like, okay, this is like why we watch this movie. Like
yeah.
this is what this is about. And they find ways to like bring that back and to capture that feeling. And while the story is lean and it's tight and it's under 2 hours, there's also a sense of like, wow, I got a lot in that like hour and 38 minutes that I just don't know if I would have gotten from like other movies. And I think that's what separates it from a lot of other animated movies, is like you can have a great story to tell, but if you don't find a way to like hit all those notes and continue to move the plot forward and like drive the movie without using all this like watered down dialogue and stuff like that, I think that's the best aspect of this movie. Is, again, they like show you stuff. They don't have to have all this dialogue and like characters talking to each other. And I think that's just like the best part of it. Like, we complain about the other characters being in it, and I think that's because like those characters don't really like matter. Like it provides nothing to the plot. Like the plot is like all these issues he's facing with Toothless, and how is he going to get Toothless out of like this village? Like, how's he gonna get him out of this like area so he doesn't get killed? Is
And I
basically the
think they
only thing.
also went to the level of casting people to give a good divide between the powerful scenes and the comedy scenes. So
That's true.
you have all the supporting characters that, again, like, we say that they're useless to the story, but again, they're there for comedic
Yeah,
purposes.
but like Jonah Hill, T.J. Miller,
Yeah, and those are the things. You have McLovin of all people in this movie,
yeah, McLovin,
and Kristen
That's
Wiig.
just
Christopher
his
Mintz,
name.
Passe,
Yeah,
He
yeah,
will
and
always be McLovin.
you have
Christopher
these
Mintz,
great
yeah,
comedy
Passe.
actors that are all the voice actors for all these side characters, but then you have actors like Gerard Butler, Craig Ferguson, David Tennant, these really well established Scottish actors that kind of give it that flavor that you're not just listening to these comedy you have like a little bit more culture into this movie.
Right. I mean, Craig Ferguson is like
I
if we're
really
gonna
liked
Comedy
his
if we're
too, but yeah,
character.
yeah
he's kind of
if we're
that
gonna
part.
be funny, like, yeah, let's get Craig Ferguson in. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
but like David Tennant and Gerard Butler, those are two big, Hollywood names.
Right. And Gerard Butler, I don't know if he is Scottish, but like he can pull
He is,
off.
yeah,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
can pull it off. You know what I mean? Like it like works. It sounds authentic, and it sounds like
yeah.
I'm not even saying Vikings are Scottish. Like they're more like Nordic, but you can pull off that vibe. Is kind of what we're getting at. And it's just, yeah, I do think the casting is really good. David Tennant, I didn't even like realize was in this. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's a lot of different characters that there's a clear divide in the movie, and I think that's fine. But there's a Hiccup and Toothless are doing their own thing over here, and then everyone else is over here just doing whatever else they're doing. And I don't know if that continues in this franchise, but I really, really, really liked the moments we got with Hiccup and Toothless and him solving issues.
Oh yeah, you get
And
that throughout the franchise.
okay, then that's why the
The
franchise
relationship
probably
between the two
works.
of them is a very key focus point of this
That's
whole.
that's probably why they made 3 movies. It probably
Yep.
it probably fucking works. Okay, yeah. So keep the formula. It's
But
formulaic, but
they did something very unique with them in how they're very dependent on each other.
yeah,
Because
they are.
obviously Toothless is Hiccup's main escape and sense of freedom in the world, whereas Hiccup kind of relies on, or Toothless relies on Hiccup to be able to fly, because Hiccup fixes his wing with the little contraption that he's able to kind of use. So it's like without Hiccup, Toothless can't really fly as well as he should be able to.
Well, he wouldn't be able to like do what he should be able to do.
And
You
they
know what
create
I mean?
that kind of bond that way, where it's like you both need each other, and they
Oh, yeah.
work out that way, which I
And
think is really cool.
Mitchell, the last thing I was going to say on this is I don't want like it to be like, oh, like how can these stupid Vikings like not figure this out? But like they're killing dragons for like centuries and centuries or whatever is what it seems like, or generations and generations. You would think like someone like Hiccup would have came along and been like, oh, actually you can just like scratch the dragon's ear and it's gonna like fall over. Like you just think someone would have figured it out by now. But I mean I guess it's just
Yeah,
like if you don't.
Hiccup. That's the one who did it.
I mean, I don't know.
There you go.
It's like we killed all these dragons for years, and it doesn't really make sense to me. But
Hiccup was the great embodiment of violence isn't always the answer. You have to sometimes
violence isn't almost never the answer. Is what what it comes down to.
But I'm saying, you have this culture that's all about violence, and he's that first outlier that's like, maybe we don't have to be violent, and
right.
maybe we can do something else.
What's crazy is like Hiccup, even in like the ring when he's like facing the dragon, he's supposed to kill it, and then he's like, no, I won't kill him. I'm not like them. And he like tries his, and then his dad like makes the dragon go off, and then Toothless is going to kill his dad, and then he's like, no, and then he stops. It's just funny to me how like none of the other Vikings like realized that like Toothless like stopped, like he wasn't, like he was listening to Hiccup. Like to me, it just didn't connect with me, that I was like, damn, these people, they just don't get it. Toothless is not a terrible creature. Like they just Anyway, Night Furies.
Grade me, Brandon. Well, don't grade me. Grade me.
Mitchell. So I've seen 2 movies in the last 2 days. One got dangerously close to my Hall of Fame. I'll go ahead and give that a grade just because I want to get this out there, Mitchell. 28 years later, A+.
You mean
70,
days?
28 days later. Sorry, 28 days.
You haven't
later.
seen 28 years later.
I haven't seen 28 years. I did see the opening scene. And
oh really?
Yeah, it was like a little special preview.
Hey, back to the animation, people. Come on.
28 days later, 74.8 A+.
That's not a Hall of Fame entry, though.
It's not a Hall of Fame entry.
But
How to Train Your Dragon, A+. 76.2 in my Hall of Fame.
Go.
Give it a plaque. Put it on the wall.
There you go.
How
Just
to Train
like
Your
I
Dragon.
said, Brandon's Hall of Fame, the easiest Hall of Fame to make
You are a terrible.
since we let Vince Carter into the NBA Hall of Fame.
Cold-hearted bastard that just hates giving things.
I can't wait for you to give this like an A. You'd be like, A, 12.2.
You have no idea what I'm going to give it, fuckhead. Tommy?
I gave it an A+ 85.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Love this
yeah,
movie.
maybe I am a hater.
You heartless.
I gave this a very strange grade of an A, 96.96. So it's very close to an A+.
I don't know what
It's right on the borderline.
What did this movie need to do to get to an A+?
Get rid of the comedic characters that kind of weighed the movie down.
He wanted an hour and 10 minutes of just Hiccup.
He didn't weigh anything down. It was like a tight 90-minute movie.
No, I'm saying that it's still a great movie. It was my number 5 movie of 2010, for damn sake.
Yeah, but it feels like 2010 was a little soft if an A is making your top 5.
Were you there when I went through all the movies
I was there.
hated?
It was a little soft.
Yeah,
I mean.
it was. You're correct.
So
yeah, it was.
I think you just might be low on this movie.
It's all
I'm
right,
not
Brandon.
low on this
We
movie,
will stay in the A+ club.
but
The Hall of Fame club. Don't short it.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's kind of shortchanging it. Now maybe How to Train Your Dragon 2 will get the A+ for me. We'll see.
Oh my god!
I remember when these movies were first coming out, I did like the second one more than the first one. So we'll see if the
that's
second one
good.
can get, but the third one is definitely my least favorite. But
Is it like the
definitely
money
falls off.
grab? Is the third one like the money grab?
no, I
I
still
would say
like the third
it's not a
one.
money grab.
You know how I was talking before the podcast about how the newest Mission Impossible is my least favorite of the newer ones, but I still had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's still a good movie. Yeah.
There you go. How to Train Your
Okay.
Dragon 3. But maybe I'll watch it and I'll go, you know what? Actually, I don't like that movie. Or maybe I was a little too hard on it. And I really enjoyed that more. So,
Yeah.
the only way that you're going to get that information is if you listen to the next podcast. So, next week, when we release that podcast, yo ass needs to tune into it. For Tommy Grant, for Brandon 2, I'm Mitchell Lee. Thanks for listening. Go watch these movies if somehow you haven't already. Make your own damn opinion, and we'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.